In New York, federal agents say for the first time they've cracked the top tier of the reputed Genovese crime family. Among 18 people under arrest is Barney Bellomo, the mob's alleged number 2. The reputed number 1, Vincent the Chin Giganti, is known for eccentric behavior, including wandering the streets in his bathrobe. His attorneys argue he's mentally unfit to stand trial. The charges against him include murder and racketeering.
I wanted to talk about the corruption back in the day within the FBI and the cover-ups and what went on in the United States Attorney's Office in their insatiable quest to get the Mafia.
You sent me an interesting article that we talked about, and I want to pull that up here in just a second. Go ahead, and I'll find this article.
I had he was an acquaintance, then he became a friend. This guy, Mike Cookie DUrso, a Genovese guy. I don't believe he was made. That's the guy. Just very close to Sammy Meatballs, who was a high-ranking captain in the Genovese family. And he was basically having sex with his FBI handler while he was cooperating with the FBI. And he was married at the time, which doesn't mean anything. I'm not a judge or priest or rabbi, but married at the time. And this FBI agent was basically probably was threatening him, either have sex with me or, bad things could happen to you. And her husband, this FBI agent, her husband was a supervisor, was an SAC on that squad. Is that crazy, Jess?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Could you imagine? She's his handling agent. She's sleeping with Mike DUrso because she was listening to his tapes, and I guess on the tapes there was a lot of explicit sexual conversation, and I guess she got aroused by that. And her husband, meanwhile, was the SAC in the same squad. For those that don't know, the SAC is the supervising agent. So that's a crazy story, but you know what? That's corruption.
Yeah.
And the FBI wouldn't investigate it. Now, it's a small world, Jesse. His father-in-law, he was married to a beautiful girl, Mike DUrso, Cookie. His father-in-law worked for me, Ray DiOrio. Ray worked for me over 10 years in the garment center. So, talk about a small world, as they say.
Yeah.
And so he married Ray's daughter, beautiful knockout girl. And they're still married from what I understand. And but this girl really, this FBI agent was hanging from the chandelier, so to speak, for him. And it was terrible. And it really screwed his head up.
Yeah. Because
she was threatening him. And what had happened was Mike DUrso, Cookie, as they called him, a young guy, but a real tough guy, not like these other fake ass tough guys. This was a real tough guy. And what he would do, he was a bookmaker and he would loan money. And he had permission to do this from Sammy Meatballs, who was very close to Jackie D'Amico. Jackie knows. And Mike used to loan money to all these stockbroker kids all over Long Island. And at 3 points, 4 points a week, you're talking a lot of money. And this is what he would do. And when these guys didn't pay, he used to take care of business. And this went on all through the 80s, all through the early 90s, when all these pump and dump places, all these brokerage kids, whatever money they were making, they spent it before they made it. So that's where DUrso came in. And his friend Joe Raperto, who lived in Merrick. Another good guy, but Mike was Cookie was he was the bull. He was the guy that was, if you didn't pay Joe and you didn't pay this guy and you didn't pay Cookie, he convinced you to pay. So And then obviously they must have caught on, and he testified against a lot of guys, Cookie. And he was very, very close to Meatballs. They had a very close relationship. And then this FBI handler just took the wind out of his sails while he was cooperating. And the FBI knew about it, and they took no action. Washington refused to investigate. But back then, you got in their crosshairs, you do what they want. They do whatever they want.
Right.
So yeah, that's my thing on Cookie. Listen, he cooperated, he testified, but he didn't deserve. He was basically sexually abused by this FBI handler.
Right. Yeah, and I want to go back to him for just a minute because after you sent me this article, I looked into him and
he was a bad guy, Jesse. Don't misunderstand.
He was a tough guy. And one thing that was interesting is, he gets into a gambling beef and ends up getting shot in the head, which is,
that's right.
What led to him becoming an informant. His cousin at the same time is shot dead beside him. And
that's what really made him flip, Jess.
Yeah. And not just that, it was the fact that they wouldn't let him retaliate, which was,
that was Sammy Meatballs.
It was a lot of that mafia politics going on.
Exactly. A lot of politics. And he was very close to he was a waiter in a restaurant, Cookie DUrso, and he got close to Sammy Meatballs. Yeah. That's how the whole relationship evolved.
Yeah, and I watched a interview with FBI agent, what is his name? Mike Campy. Who was, involved with that, one of the agents, with DUrso. And, it was interesting because he didn't really want to talk about it too much. He, the video that I watched, he was talking about this, let me see what I got wrote down. He was coerced by one of his female FBI handlers, this is DUrso, into an unwanted sexual relationship for nearly 3 years. And Mike Campy was asked, what happens to this agent? And he doesn't really want to talk about it that much and just says that he heard the female agent retired. And that was all that came of it.
Nothing happened to her. She retired and gets a nice 6-figure pension. Yeah. And
no investigation or anything, people look at it differently because this is a mob guy and a woman. But yeah, like you said, he was basically.
But he's still a person. He's still a human being.
Right. Yeah. She held this cooperation and all this over his head to keep this sexual relationship quiet, which was crazy, man. That, and then nothing was ever done about it.
And you see, Jerry Capisi wrote about it. And others wrote about it, and I went on online today on the federal on the federal website, and there's nothing about it, nothing in any court transcripts from back then, nothing. It's like it never happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Supposedly, DUrso went to Capisi years ago and told him about this. Mike Campy, former FBI agent, claims he only found this out years later after the fact. I don't know whether that's true or not, but he, like I said, he didn't want to discuss it too much.
No, they don't. They don't want their sins. They can hide all their sins.
I was looking up, in preparation for this. Did you see where he had wrote like an open letter to the mafia? Years later, he went through Jerry Capisi and had it published on his page, and then with the New York Post, he wrote like an open letter to his former associates. I just thought that was pretty interesting. That he did that.
Yeah, he did do an open letter.
Yeah, apparently, I just wrote some notes down, before we get too far ahead. He heard some people mentioning his name and stuff somewhere, and so he wrote this open letter, I guess to avoid any type of threats or anything.
He took it very personal, Jesse. And like you said, they killed a family member. They shot him in the head. No one gets it. What do you want the guy to do?
Yeah.
You want him to sit there while you're going to kill his wife next? Cookie was a good guy. He really was. So the point I'm trying to make is You know, when you deal with the mafia, you know what the mafia is. But you're with the FBI, they're worse than the mafia because they got the guns, they got the badge, and they got the real power.